So back pre-pandemic era, I got into reselling and I started reselling and I started watching resellers on YouTube. And I stumbled across this live show that was going on Monday through Friday called The Joshes of Reselling, which consisted of three dudes named Josh. Pretty cool concept. I enjoyed the lives during the mornings, and it was Josh Harry Tornado, Josh, a lot of Josh, and there was a third Josh that I don't remember his YouTube name, but I developed a parasocial relationship with these people. I remember cutting up in the comments a lot, being really silly, being really out there, making lots of funny jokes and stuff, and I'm like, I wonder if I could do this myself. And mind you, looking back, I didn't realize this at the time, but I was in a really vulnerable time of my life. I had just developed PTSD and was coming out of a cult and deconstructing from said cult and figuring out more who I was, what I was about. I was a stay-at-home parent who had two kids that I was taking care of and a lot of time being isolated. So I was in a really vulnerable position. Out of the three Joshes that were a part of the live show, I ended up gravitating more toward Josh Harry Tornado and would watch a lot of his content, watch his lives, and be there. Like, first thing, like right before the live even started, right before the video started, I was there. I was a stay-at-home parent, mind you, so I had a lot of time on my hands. I sunk a lot of time into reselling and YouTube and trying to build my YouTube channel as a reseller, and that was my thing. And I even had a little mental health portion of my YouTube channel at the time. But anyways, I got started more through Harry Tornado. He was really, really supportive and positive toward me. And so I felt like maybe I can do this, which is, that's a good thing. I really looked up to Harry Tornado during this vulnerable time of my life. I really did put a lot of stock into what he was saying, and I respected him a lot as a reseller and YouTuber, just someone who was supportive, and, I was a fan. I definitely was a fan. And there would be little moments, though, where I would sort of see a different side of him that I just hadn't seen before. One of those moments was when we were on the Joshes of Reselling, and we were showing our stores, and they were doing store reviews, basically. And I showed them my store. I was a newer eBay seller, so they were looking at my eBay store. And Josh Harry Tornado saw this, one of my pictures or something, I don't remember what, but in front of everybody in the chat, he said, "This looks bad." And I could feel it was very, very upsetting and painful for me. And the other Josh, a lot of Josh, was trying to salvage what he had said and trying to soften it a bit. But I do believe he took that moment on purpose as an opportunistic sort of way to get some sense of like a power play or some type of like something out of that. I do feel like he did get something out of that, and I do feel like he knew what he was doing and that he does things like that because, I don't know, it feels good to him and he has some type of something he gets out of it. In the moment, I took it as just tough love. He's being like a hard teacher, mentor person. And so that's how I kind of justified it in my mind. And I still kept watching him and staying pretty, faithful, loyal to him and his channel, despite that. But I did log it away, and I was starting to learn about these dynamics, like, abusive dynamics and stuff like that. Not saying that he was abusive toward me necessarily, but these little moments show you someone's true colors. And I was selling some pretty good stuff. My store was taking off pretty well. I mean, I was still newer, but I was still doing pretty good. And he had an interview with me, and I just really felt that when he had the interview with me, as opposed to other people, he more kept it very like fluffy and like goofy and silly, and not really about actually selling on eBay or selling or reselling, like things that like I wanted to talk about, like my best sales, because I was selling some really great stuff at the time. And so I could give a lot of knowledge about it, but he sort of didn't even ask those questions of like, my store or reselling or what kind of things I like to sell. It just ended up being very much entertainment more than anything, which whatever, I guess. He was really weird behind the scenes too, like canceled a couple times, and I'm like, okay, like I don't really care. I don't mind. Like I don't really have to go on your channel. I don't really care. Like that's kind of how it felt to me, but I do feel like he was just trying to do that. He was trying to keep me like dysregulated or keep me from not feeling confident. And I developed a parasocial relationship with Harry Tornado. I would be a part of his lives every time that he was live. I'd be in those chats while he was in his garage doing whatever, listing or just talking about eBay and stuff. And then there was some beef with Matt, part-time picker, and he was very much about that for a while, like talking a ton about it. Don't really remember the details. It was pre-pandemic we're talking about. So, but he was going off about Matt, part-time picker, because they had some type of feud or beef going on. So he messaged me about Matt, part-time picker, and was trying to basically manipulate me into taking sides against him. I don't remember the details of what he was trying to get me to do or not, so don't quote me on the details of it, but it was, at the time, it was very much like, it seems like you're trying to get me to be against this guy, and I kind of just wasn't really taking the bait at the time. I was starting to learn, like, to trust my instincts and trust myself, because I didn't, because I was a part of a cult, and that's a whole other thing. So I didn't have a strong sense of trust toward myself and my intuition and my instincts, which, that's changed now. But he was trying to get me to go against this other guy in the community. And hey, I still joined his lives all the time, still stayed pretty faithful as, a follower. And I would listen to his lives, and he would talk a lot about YouTube and stuff. And one thing that really kind of struck me was how he explained that he will study other YouTubers, like their mannerisms even, like down to the words that they use, the tone of their voice, the facial expressions they make. Like he was breaking down how he basically studies people in order to grow his YouTube channel and to increase his engagement and stuff like that. And that just seemed really odd to me, because no one who has a very strong sense of self does that kind of thing. Like, they don't just go study the facial expressions a certain YouTuber makes to try and copy it, to try and manipulate people or something. Like, that's just not how you interact. And I mean, people mask, people do stuff like that, but it just seemed like a really bizarre thing. Like, he studies other people and how to be in order to put on a show that you will like, that he knows you will like and cash in on, and that kind of thing. Like, he's not a friend, he's not. And another thing that really bothered me was when he raised all this money for this post office lady who brought, picked up packages from his house. Cause there's a lot of packages and reselling that post office people have to pick up. But he went on this whole thing. It was like this positive, good vibes, chat where we all raised money, and he was going to give it to this post office lady, and nothing ever came of that. Like, he just took the money, and we don't know for sure what actually happened with that money. And there was no follow-up. We were all wondering, where did that money go? Did it go to the post office lady? And there may have been an explanation. I don't remember. But as somebody who's so meticulous in what they do on YouTube, like to the point where you're studying human beings just to try and grow your YouTube, you'd think you would follow up and have maybe you could have gotten some good clicks and views if you had actually just followed up and given her that money. But I don't know where that money really went. He may have explained it. He may not have. If anyone has any extra information on that, I'd be glad to hear. But I didn't hear any updates on where that money went. And am I some big victim? No. And anybody who looks at someone else who's just talking about something that really ruptured trust and caused harm for them, if you say, oh, you're a big victim, that's what abusers say to people that they abuse. So please don't use those lines on people and saying this is all high school drama, XYZ. I just need to focus on the good vibes. Like, we're all human beings. We all have our emotional experiences, and we, even from childhood, we have those emotions that really do matter. And saying, suck it up, buttercup, that's just the way it goes. And that's kind of ick. That just gives me the ick. I'm sorry, it just does. So none of those responses are going to be really helpful, and I don't respect those comments if you make them. It's just my experience, and I know that there are people out there as well who have had similar, if not worse, experiences. I am kind of curious to know the experiences of the people in the Joshes of reselling, for example. Like, I would really like to know their perspective if they have any more information on this, because what happened to me affected me for years. I think back on it, and it sits with me. It affects me, and like, to know that there are people out there that just really put on a very strong mask in order to get you to do what they want and that kind of thing. It's just upsetting. It's upsetting that there are people like that out there. And this is simply my perspective. You can take it or leave it. Do what you're going to do. But that was my experience.